city council legislators, we supposed to, my role specifically is to first be conscientious of the city as a whole, to make sure that we are fiscal, able to survive as a city. And after that, I have a direct responsibility to the district in which I was elected from, looking out for the constituents, the interests overall, and try to create and forge solutions to some of the far-reaching problems that exist within my district, as well as the city. It's a tremendous responsibility. Too often, people doesn't understand or doesn't take it to the extent in which it is. That's why sometimes people get discouraged by city government, because they don't feel that the people that they're representing are doing an adequate job. But it's not even though it's on the job training, but it should not be on the job training. People should bring some degree of experiences to the seat once they desire to become a public servant. Well, certainly being an incumbent, I have had experience over the last 4 years to get familiar with the budget and how it's gained and how it's dispensed. I'm a manager, a clinic manager with Willie Health System, which I have a budget within my own department. I have to prepare and to be adequate in projecting the needs of my department. But as a city, again, the thing that I've struggled with over the last 3.5 years is the fact that we're struggling, we're almost juggling to maintain a degree of services for the city. Every year we have to balance the budget, and oftentimes we have to move money around to make it happen. I was hoping that we could at least budget monies that we could move a lot of things off of the what we call our unfunded need list. The city has a lot of needs. We got a lot of properties that I think we should be looking at eliminating, but at the same time we have to maintain those properties. So we have to be prudent in trying to become more fiscal responsible in budgeting. Not my granddad used to say, why would we need 3 horses if we can get by with 2? And I think that's the approach that we need to take more. If we don't need something, we need to be courageous enough to eliminate it. I've been aggressive in trying to be proactive in addressing some needs that I think is priority to the city. Now, certainly each council bring their own different experiences, the issues of their districts. Again, as I said previously, that I think there are buildings and grounds and facilities that are not being utilized, and we need to look at ways that we can dispose of them. I mean, we could take an inventory. We got miles of properties and facilities, but again, the water and sewer is an issue that we inherited, that the next council will inherit, and that's another issue that we have a lot of times, is that we push the ball down the field too often, and not being conscious and brave enough to address issues as they come to us. I have some other ideas, but it does not relate to the specific needs of the city in regards to buildings and facilities. I think our biggest need for the future of Shreveport is how do we address the disparity between our citizens. We cannot be a progressive city. We can't be viable in the future if we do not address the economic disparity between our poorest and our most prosperous residents. We got to create a balance there. Well, again, city councils, legislators, and as well as they are leaders in the city, there should be a relationship between the administration and the city council. Unfortunately, my experiences over the last 3.5 years has been that we have not had that real intimate relationship that we can just caucus about how do we see the city moving. We have to address some underlying issues to get there. A lot of potential businesses, corporations that may want to come to Shreveport. I think they recognize the disjointment of council administration. I know when they approach people, council or administration or department heads, they don't see the cohesiveness. They don't see the coalition building that needed for them to be impressed or attractive to certain areas of Shreveport. There's been several. There's one current that's on the table. The gateway development of Cross Value, for instance. As soon as they came out with a very impressive presentation. A lot of councilmen, as well as the mayor, rejected it. We can't do that. And my constant plea is, we can't say no to everything. Okay, we can't say no. If we see where the city investment is worthy of minimum, and we see that private investment is going to be to a level, we have to give it a try. We have to, in some cases, just go for it. And oftentimes we'll fail, but I think most of the time we'll succeed. But we cannot just sit idly by and reject things that could benefit this city. We need to work together as a city council. I brought several ideas to the mayor, to the administration, and we can't do it. And I'm like, we haven't even researched it. We haven't even tried. Let's be more prudent and responsible to trying to look at economic development in the city. First of all, I think there should be a wall between. I mean, we can't stop anybody from being chair or involved in nonprofits. I mean that's a good thing. But when it comes to city appropriations, going to a nonprofit that a city council or any elected official is controlling, there should be some way of protecting those public funds, and being accountable to the extent that it would discourage people from trying to embezzle or misuse or misappropriate public funds. Too often, politics come into play, and people say, "That's my friend. I want to help him." They put out an application and they fund something, and then don't know where the funds is going. There's no follow up in the interim. Next year they come back and request other funds. But I think we can do better. I don't think it had happened on the city level, but I think we can do better in how we distribute our civic appropriations. I think I've been the only councilman that has been consistent in vetting the mayor appointments. Most councilmen say, well, the mayor has the privilege to have and appoint who she wants to appoint. I agree, but I also think there's a degree of responsibility of the council. I ask periodically for some of these boards and commission members to come and give us a follow-up report on what they're doing. I mean, it's almost frequent that board appointments are made, but as well as department heads. For instance, I was the only councilman that voted against the police chief, and the reason I voted against the police chief is that once I received his resume and his experiences, I did not feel like it rose to the level of being an effective police chief.
And because he had not had some of the basic fundamental experiences and trainings that police chiefs should have. And I followed up on that. Found that, you know, some of the things that he wasn't doing was I thought was for the best interest of the city. And I'll propose a resolution of non-confidence in the police chief. Again, people have to be held accountable. They have to know that they are accountable. And once they know that they are held accountable, then they are encouraged to do a better job. When department heads, volunteers, boards and commissions, if they feel like nobody's watching them and they just there for the have something on their resume, that's not good. We are a functioning entity in this city, and we have to ensure that every department, every commission, every board is functioning to the level that we would expect them to function. An issue that if we don't all at least communicate together, our city, our parish, our region would never progress. It's a collaboration. The council has been I thought average in working together, and the reason I said average is that there are projects, there are ordinances and resolutions that are brought forward by different councilmen, and they are sometimes rejected, but most of the time, most of the time they are considered and not accepted because we don't have an understanding. We don't talk enough. We really don't talk enough. We don't have hardly any communication with our parish commissioners. Our state representatives and senators does not collaborate with us in things. So we don't know what the left hand, don't know what the right hand is doing in most cases. I'm talking about on projects and interests that includes us all. We try and we get reports internally for the city council. We get information. But once we get it, we don't talk about it until we get to the council meeting or get to the work session. Our committees function. I think our committees function well within the council. But overall, your question is how do we collaborate with our other elected bodies to be effective and looking out for the interest of this region? And I'm saying that is very poor. And I would propose next year that we at least create some type of a caucus, a collective caucus of elected bodies, so that we could at least maybe quarterly discuss some of these issues that have interest to us collaboratively. This is the issue. This is my number one issue. And I get oftentimes accused of not being fair. Shreveport is in transition. Okay, this is not the Shreveport of 20 years ago. It's not even the Shreveport of 10 years ago. Shreveport is now a majority African American city. But the disparity in wealth and income is so wide. And it's two Shreveports actually. You got a black poor Shreveport, and you got a white middle class Shreveport. And they don't interact. There's hardly any relationships in how do we forge better race relations. There used to be, but there's not anymore because we don't have community statesmen, nor do we have political statesmen who can walk on both sides of Shreveport and merge them in a way that some of our past residents have done. So we look at Shreveport. We look at the crime on this side, and then we go on this side and we see prosperity, and we think in our minds that that it's unfair, but we have nobody to try to merge that and talk about how we can move Shreveport forward. You know, I've been proposing a disparity study so that African American businesses can be inclusive in a lot of things. You know, we got a marriage on the Parish Commission agenda for next week, and I'm hoping that we can get that. I proposed a resolution last year, and we got 150,000. It's going to be at least 300,000 plus to do it, and I got another. They're proposed. I asked them to assist, but my point is this: is that we still have council members and we have parish commissioners who's rejecting the idea of doing a disparity study so we can gain economic inclusion at the risk of not changing. We got to change. We got to, this mentality of we gonna stay in our own box. It's got to move. It's got to change. Shreveport ain't gonna get no better until we're willing to change. We can't keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. Again, the city of Shreveport has a great responsibility. The council, the mayor has a great responsibility. We are responsible for making the lives of our citizens better. That's why they elected us. We should be able to provide safety, a quality of life, without any reservations of we can move throughout this city. We have a responsibility to make sure that we're providing the best city services that we can provide. We should not be driving down the highway and seeing trash and litter and all over the place. We should not be constantly bombarded by our citizens saying my water bills are too high. I'm not getting these type of services. I'm not getting these type of services. Every service that the city provides should be to the best and to the best quality that we can provide. We have a responsibility to do that, but we don't. I don't know if we need to look at our structure, but there's something missing in Shreveport that we cannot satisfy our citizens to believe that we're providing to them the best public service, the best quality of other services, including solid waste and fire protection, police protection. So again, my record on this council has been one of vision and progressiveness. And I told this council, I told the mayor when I first got elected, that I'm gonna be working hard to at least put my vision out there and try to accomplish some of the areas of my vision. And if I didn't, then I wasn't going to move for another term. And I announced that I wasn't going to move to another term because I did not see initially that my vision, and I didn't see a pathway to my vision to being achieved. But then I got a lot of support from my constituents that say, listen, your vision and parts of what you're doing is working, is effective. Give it another chance. And that's why I went to move to be reelected so that I could continue to work to move Shreveport. I was reminded that things change does not come in a flash. Change takes time. Shreveport, we don't have the time that we had 4 years ago or even 8 years ago. This city is at a crossroads, and we must address that. And we must address it now. My ethics and integrity. Well, I've been married for 48 years. My wife and I got married as teenagers. We educated ourselves. We have 3 children. Each one of those has a college education. I've been working at my job for 25 years. I'm a clinic manager. I manage clinics. In in that apparatus, I have access to medicines and other things. I've never violated the trust of Willie Knighton. I've been on the council, I've been in the public domain for 40 years. I have never done anything to violate the trust that people put in me. Okay, you know, I'm 65, be 66 years old, never been arrested, never been accused of any crime, never been doing anything. Integrity and being worthy of people's trust is very important to me. I would not ask anybody for their vote if I thought that I had an ulterior motive in what I want to do. My interest is for the best of Shreveport. I've been here all my life, raised and grew up here. And I would never intentionally do anything that will create any type of ill for me or my family or the city that I would feel embarrassed by doing. My integrity is intact. No, I think you guys have some very solid questions. I appreciate those questions, but I will say that there is an anxiety in Shreveport, and I'm gonna go back to this transition of Shreveport, and I see Shreveport as I see the country with the president, for instance. I see a resistance to change, and that resistance to change may be our downfall. I'm very conscious of this. For the first time in Shreveport history, next year, in November, Shreveport may have majority African American city council. We're probably gonna have an African American mayor. It'd be the first time that African Americans would be in charge. When I say in charge, their coalition, 4 councilmen and a mayor, would be responsible for governing this city. And I don't know if collectively we are prepared to govern this city. That's my concern. People in the past now say, I want to run for public office, but they don't have a clue on what it includes. There's no prerequisite that, you know, you can just say I'm running, you meet the age requirement and the residential requirement, and you put your name on the ballot and you get elected, and you out here in la la land struggling to find out what it is I need to do. We got to prepare our people for leadership. I don't know how, but I'm just saying to the African American community that you need to be very conscious and courageous enough to elect the best qualified applicants that you can elect, because we're gonna have to govern this city, and if we don't govern this city right, and people become afraid and anxiety move in, then we're gonna be in the same arena as Jackson, Mississippi. We're gonna start having white flight. Our tax base is gonna erode, and we're going to find ourselves on an island of destitution that we may not ever come to recover. And there will be a tragedy because of what we have. Every city would kill for 2 interstate systems and a waterway and a port, and we have all these entities that we can build on, but yet we still made it. And that is because we do not have the level of quality of leadership that we need to move forward. I hope this election can change that.